Welcome to the Drywall podcast. I'm your host, Nick Harmon. In this podcast number 5, we will be interviewing Joe Koenig of Trim-Tex, talking about his race career, Trim-Tex products that have been discontinued, and a little bit about marketing. Joe's a fantastic guy, and we are excited to interview him. The Drywall podcast is brought to you by Fresco Harmony, making walls better since 2004. This interview gets off to a little rocky start, but after some stumbling, here's a little bit of our conversation together. If you want to listen to the entire podcast, be sure to find us on Podbean, Spotify, and YouTube. Without further ado, Joe Koenig.
Yes, for sure. And I'll continue on. But so, yeah, the motorcycling keeps me in shape, keeps me sharp. I truly feel that at 63 years old, just had a birthday a couple of weeks ago, 63 years old, that I am riding better now than I have my whole life. Drag racing. Now, when I drag raced, I retired in 2002, maybe in 2018, I decided to build a Hayabusa street racing, drag bike, no wheelie bars. And I got back out there and oh my God, I mean, just to run 160 miles an hour on a street bike, I could barely hang on to that thing. So no, I am older. So I would say, I don't think I'm going to go back to drag racing anything at 200 miles an hour, just because I don't have the physicality to do it.
Okay.
No matter how much iron I pump and how much I work out. I mean, the muscle, when you're younger, you build muscle and you lose it in over 3 months time. When you're my age, you build muscle and you don't do anything for 3 days, you're a flabby ass old man,
Yeah.
So,
I notice it.
You got the chicken lips hanging down below you, whatever they call it.
Well, I'm 46. I still play soccer, but I notice the injuries take longer to heal. But yes,
Sure.
I work out each week, like with weights, which I've been doing for a couple of years and I never used to do. If I don't work out for 2 weeks, significant difference. Like it
Throw-
really, it goes.
Throw 20 years on that, and and it'll be 20% worse. 10 more years, it'll be 10% worse.
Right.
So racing cars, I started in 2006. I adapted to it pretty quick. I won a lot of races right away. We got into the endurance racing. I think I won the regional endurance racing championship in 2008. I got a couple driver of the year awards in 2008. I went to the national championship runoffs, SCCA. During my tenure, I've won the June sprints a couple of times, and which is next weekend. We're going to go for it again on 2 different classes of cars, both BMWs.
Nice.
I am driving better now than I was in 2000. Every year, I just feel that I'm smarter about how I approach my driving. 10 years ago, I was like, hey, let's add some more horsepower. Let's spend some more money. Let's add horsepower. And it got to a point back then, you could buy an engine for $13,000 for a BMW. And today that engine costs $50,000. So now today, what I say? I say, you know what? Let me improve my driving. There's 2 seconds. There's 3 seconds a lap in my driving. If I put Brian Sellers in the car, who's a pro and a multi-championship pro that runs IMSA and all those Rolex races and everything else. If I put Brian Sellers in my car, he's 2 seconds to 3 seconds a lap faster than I am. And most of where he picks up the time and the speed is in the braking zones. He's better at, I can run 150 miles an hour down the straightaway just like him, and I can hit the brakes pretty much in the same spot that he does, but he hits the brake so perfectly and gets off of it so perfectly and carries more speed into the corner
Mm-hmm.
that you and I would be like, holy shit, I'm going to die, because I'm going 80 miles an
Right.
hour in the corner that I can only handle 70 miles an hour. And there's a big wall over there. So your natural instincts, your survival instincts is what you're basically fighting your survival instincts to stay alive when you race stuff. Okay.
Love it.
And
Yeah.
you have to train your brain, and you have to train your survival brain that, hey, okay, we did it. We're not, I'm not going to touch the brakes this time. We're just going to turn into kink at
Right.
130. Road America has the famous corner of the kink. And, in one car, I'm approaching the kink at 135 miles an hour, and you don't touch the brakes. You just lift the throttle, and you drop about 14 miles an hour. That's the perfect sweet spot. And then you just turn in, and you're back on.
Have you driven a Tesla yet by chance?
I have driven a Tesla Plaid. One of my friends had. I'm not a big Tesla guy, but a lot of
No,
people
that's
I know.
okay.
A lot of
No,
people I know
the reason,
are.
yeah,
And
we have a
that,
Tesla. We have a Tesla. We have a dual
yeah,
motor, and it has regenerative braking. So
yeah,
that whole braking concept is different in a Tesla. Because you can have strong regenerative. So when you take your foot off the gas, I mean it powers
yeah,
down.
right,
Unlike a combustible engine,
right.
totally different model. And now I guess they're doing electric car races. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's some e-racing going on in Europe, but yeah, I think you have 10 different settings for that. Right? You can go 100% or to zero. So
I
you can,
think, yeah, there's settings for everything.
yeah,
You might be able to get into it on the computer. I know that there's two distinctive. There's like, or three. There's like, heavy, medium, and light.
right,
And I had it on light for a long time when we first got the car, and now I have it on heavy.
yeah,
And you don't ever have to touch the brake. It'll power down to stop.
yeah, correct.
It's insane.
You'll never buy a set of brake pads. That's for
Yeah.
personally for me. I'd run it on medium because I do like a little bit of that regenerative braking. That's
Yep.
why I drive a 4-stroke KTM dirt bike and not a
Okay.
2-stroke KTM dirt bike.
Oh, okay.
The 4 strokes will have a better deceleration than a 2-stroke. A 2-stroke, you let off the throttle, it just coasts.
Yeah.
Okay. A 4-stroke, you let off the throttle, depending on the gear, you're going to be
Okay.
slowing down. It doesn't come to a complete stop. Eventually, it will.
But the
But,
two strokes faster and maybe a little bit more power.
lighter. The 2 strokes are
Okay.
about. They tend to be very fast. So sometimes they're faster. Sometimes they're equal.
Okay.
But they're definitely 20, 30 pounds lighter. You ride a bicycle, right? You ride a mountain bike.
Yeah.
Yeah. So think about a mountain bike with a 20-pound weight strapped to the bar, right in front of your belt, right?
Well, when it comes to
That,
mountain biking, it's about some people ride with a rear suspension, which is fine, but that
right,
adds weight. It's better performance, but it
right,
adds a lot of weight. Some people will do, if they're doing enduro, they'll ride like a rigid back end, and that takes away a lot of the weight.
right,
And it's better for climbing, but you lose a lot of that suspension when you're doing jumps or going down hills.
right. Which is better for your spine to have suspension. So that 5 pounds you're talking about
Hmm.
is up high. The center of gravity is much higher. So that's what I was going to say. So put a 20-pound weight on your mountain bike, two wrist weights, 10-pound wrist weights, put that on the bar in front of you and go ride a trail, and then go take those weights off and then go ride the trail. So that's a
There
difference.
you go.
The
Yeah.
difference between a 2-stroke and a 4-stroke is the engine is much taller on a 4-stroke, has more reciprocating mass and weight up high. And the 2-stroke is 20 pounds lighter, and the center of gravity is lighter and doesn't have all those camshafts spinning up there. So, that's the difference. It's lighter. People can flick it around easier and all that stuff. So,
I love your zest for motorsports.
yeah.
You know what I like, and like we don't have to talk about drywall. I don't give a shit.
Oh, talk about, I love
I
drive.
love the
What,
zest. I like it when people are, and you can tell when you talk to somebody. And I'm getting more into this, from a journalistic standpoint. When you talk to
right,
somebody and they get excited about something, to
sure.
me, That's really key. And you do get excited about Trim-Tex and wall products and stuff like that. But I love,
Right.
like, you glow when you talk about motorsports. I
Oh yeah.
love it.
Well,
That's great.
I'm gonna glow about, Trim-Tex too, but I'm gonna switch. I'm gonna swing over here. So
Yeah, yeah.
that that is me snowmobiling in Yellowstone. We go every winter, we rent snowmobile. So if you want to have the best time of your life, you go to Yellowstone in January or February and you rent an 800cc mountain sled and you go out and you ride. So in the background of that picture, that is the Snake River in Idaho.
Yep,
So that's where
yep.
Evil Knievel jumped over the Snake
Oh,
River
funny.
Canyon, basically. So yeah. So I am passionate about motorsports.
Yep.
I, I work hard. Core values at Trim-Tex. The number two core value, number one is learning culture. Number two is work hard, play hard.
Thank you for listening to the Drywall Podcast. Be sure to tune in for the full podcast on Podbean, Spotify, and Apple Podcast. You can also catch us on YouTube. And be sure to check out Facebook, the podcast, and Instagram also. Thanks for joining.